I think we're live. This is episode 002 of Pixel Perfect Pride with Anthony. And now I'm joined by my husband, David.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be a regular.
Oh.
You may be.
Oh.
But I just thought...
I'm merely a guest star. Should we go with star?
Yeah. I just thought that with today's monumentous occasion.
You mean the occasion that you took a day off work for?
2 days actually. Yeah, so I wanted to get David's reactions. I watched it live. I just made David watch it as well. I'm talking about the Nintendo Direct Switch 2 reveal. And we'll get David's reactions in a bit. He was, I have to put this out there, he was a bit of a party pooper. You wouldn't watch the entire
hour and 15 minutes, no?
You made me...
I've had a long day at work.
You made me like sort of run through the...
Okay, we watched the first half an hour and then skimmed through the rest.
Yeah. So first,
not everyone's spouse would do that for them, darling.
No. So just like for the people who are watching this one first and not the other one, episode 001 is me live reaction to the Switch 2 reveal Nintendo Direct from earlier in the day. So go and watch that if you haven't already. It's quite fun to see me react to it live. I get very excited at some point and then realise that's not the game I thought it was. But there's a bit when it's Bravely Default 2. And Bravely Default HD, and I think that's the remake of Final Fantasy 9. Because one of the characters looks quite similar, and when they say it's Bravely Default, I'm like, oh, okay. I get extremely excited for the James Bond. That I think the most excited I get is the James Bond thing.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, my online identity is licensed to queer. I run the LGBTQ+ platform for queer Bond fans, so that was the bit that I was obviously most excited for. The fact that it was about 10 seconds.
I really thought we were going to get actually footage for the first time because they've never shown that game. It's been made. It's supposed to be a trilogy as well.
I know, something better than nothing, though.
Yeah. So firstly, you spoke a little bit there about like who you are. Give them a bit more.
My Nintendo history.
Yeah.
Okay, so my Nintendo history.
And gaming as well.
Gaming history. I don't play many video games nowadays. I just don't have time, to be honest, or I don't make time for them compared to other things. They just eat my time. Because when I start playing a video game, it tends to just absorb my entire life.
And also he plays them so slowly.
I can't play a video game with you in the room. Because I know you're watching me.
Do this, do that.
I'm like, no, I'm enjoying exploring.
Last you were playing Indiana Jones and what's it called?
Great Circle. Playtime for most people about 17 hours. I doubled that.
And I was like, there's one because I played a little bit before. I haven't finished that game. David has, but there was a bit I played the first bit before he did, and I was in the room and I was like, you need to go around that corner and do this.
I was getting so annoyed. He had to leave the room.
Yeah.
And like things like Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game, and Red Dead, I clocked up over 100 hours on those.
You haven't played Tears of the Kingdom yet, though?
No, because I know it will take me 100 hours, and I don't have 100 hours to spare.
So Nintendo history then. What was your first Nintendo console?
It was the Super Nintendo in the 90s. NES? No, we didn't have a NES. So my parents thought that we would have I didn't have a deprived childhood at all. However, I was mildly resentful when the neighbours had a NES.
Oh, really?
And my parents decided that instead of a NES, they would buy me a Commodore 64 because you use a computer, you can use it for education. Yeah, that didn't happen. So
at least you didn't have a Mega Drive.
At least I didn't have a Mega Drive. So I grew up in the era where Nintendo and Sega were the head honchos, and they were always at based on the fandom, it was always at loggerheads, and there were some quite nasty things said in there. And the gay station, the Mega Drivel and all of that. So basically, I was Team Nintendo the whole way.
I was always Team Nintendo too.
Pretty much always have been. So I had all the Nintendo consoles myself up until the Wii, and then I haven't bought a console since the Nintendo Wii.
And then we got together.
We
got together when the Wii was still out.
Because somebody buys every games console known to mankind, past or present.
So just forget Switch. We'll talk about Switch in a second, but like if you just think of like 3 Nintendo games that you would say like define you as a gamer.
Okay, Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
First time I cried at a video game when I finished the whole you leaving all this world and the family and everything behind. That was good. I probably have to say Red Dead, actually.
Yeah.
Probably the first one over the second one. I prefer the story of the first one. The second one was really good. But I'm a massive Wild West fan.
Yeah.
And I just spend hours riding around on a horse, just looking at the scenery, not actually doing any of the missions.
I will let that slide because I did say Nintendo game.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I have had a very long day. Okay, it's not Nintendo. Okay, I'll go back to. Do I have to stay with Nintendo?
No, well, you've got one more to choose, so just choose
okay. And another game. Oh God, what sort of things do you think? Something a bit more I see. I'm not a social gamer. I'm a very I'm a very social person in real life.
There's one you're not thinking about.
I
like
can't.
huge,
I actually hate playing games.
And
with
you play
people.
with all your friends when you're growing up.
Oh, GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64. I clocked up over I've got God knows 500 hours, 600 hours on that game playing multiplayer. So it wasn't a social game. I'm not a social gamer. Split screen multiplayer in the same room with people on there. I don't think I've ever actually played a game with anyone online before.
Really?
No, I don't think I've ever done it.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. We're going to go into Switch 2 Direct in a second, but quickly, your thoughts on the Switch as a console and as something that we've had for the last 8 years in terms of something you've experienced? Like anything that stick out to you about the Switch other than Breath of the Wild? Well, start with Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, so again, over 100 hours on that game. I actually really found that difficult to get into, I'll be honest, even though I love Zelda games.
I remember you getting really frustrated
with the controls. There were so many buttons on the interface. I was getting so annoyed. And I thought, am I just getting old? Can I just not play video games anymore? But I've heard some of the people find it a bit fiddly to begin with. But I adored Breath of the Wild, obviously, by the end. And again, in a pattern, ended up spending hours riding around on a horse, not doing a lot. But I eventually did kill Ganondorf.
Spoilers, and I think you might have done
I did all but 18 shrines, I think.
I think you did more than I did.
So
the shrines.
I don't have time to complete games, but I will. It's like eking out the experience. If a game gets me, this is really crucial. If a game makes me feel something. So again, not a Nintendo game, but I love that Senua's Sacrifice game.
Oh yeah.
Hellblade. Yeah. I really want to play the sequel of that. So I'll either play games that are absolutely humongous or games that are about 7 or 8 hours.
Like at the minute, we're playing in between. Split Fiction.
Yeah,
and that has that really great character story, and it feels like it's going to mean something.
I'm really enjoying that. We need to continue. You're not the best at finishing games, whereas I know if I start a game, I'll probably finish it. So actually, the number of games I've actually played myself by choice, rather than being dragged into playing in multiplayer by you, is probably about 5.
Yeah, I can think of only 2 games on Switch that you've played. I know you've played.
I bought the Kirby game.
Wild, and you bought the Kirby game, and
but
you really
I played it for a few hours, and then I was
Kirby and the Forgotten.
It didn't really make me feel much, so that's why I didn't.
One thing that I think he would love, and he hasn't played, is Super Mario Odyssey. So you should play that.
Does it make you feel things?
Oh God, he's really brilliant. Yeah. So anyway, that's David's. I needed to give David some sort of prove his cachet to be on a gaming podcast, and I think you've proven that.
What do you mean? I'm only a guest star today. Apparently, I'm not allowed back on. What's the point in doing all that character building?
Well, because I've already mentioned you in the first episode.
Oh God, my ears were burning.
Yeah. So Nintendo Direct today, Switch 2 reveals. What do you like off the top of your head? Like, not planning it out, but of that thing that Nintendo just announced, what do you think about the Switch 2?
I think that it's not just a case of, like when, I can't stand it. I can't be in the same room when you're watching things like Apple conferences. They just do my nut in. I can't stand it because they're talking about hardware upgrades that really make no material difference. You should if I had my way and, mobile phones work this way, I'd skip about 3 years and then buy a new phone. I don't do that because they throttle your phone and all the rest of it. And I don't even buy Apple, because I find their things objectionable. Phones wise, I do have Apple MacBook and all the rest of it. So it's not just an Apple thing, I know, but I actually felt like the hardware innovations that they have put in there, although none of them on their own are particularly innovative, like we've seen chat versions before and all of that. It's like Nintendo have really thought carefully about the experience that people are going to have with that. So I thought that it wouldn't be something that I would buy myself. I know you'll buy it anyway, but it wouldn't be something I'd buy myself because I know I wouldn't get really the value out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for you to have it and play around with the bits and pieces. The game that probably most excited me, and I've forgotten the name of it already, Drive, the basketball one.
Yeah.
The wheelchair basketball game.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
That looked quite fun. Sort of game that I would play socially, maybe even just with someone in the same room. If you can do that with two Switch thingies, you need two Switch 2s, wouldn't you?
No, 2 sets of Joy-Cons.
2 sets of Joy-Cons, okay. So that the other one that I really like the look of was actually the Donkey Kong game.
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for any form of Donkey Kong game, but I love the idea of the environments being destructible. That was a new gameplay mechanic, really.
I think it would mean that you can solve stuff in different ways because you could just like brute force your way through stuff so I think those are really exciting. I also think what's really interesting about some of the things that they're adding in terms of like the social functions with the chat stuff is it's very much based around the building sort of the social functions around how Japanese people live and experience life, because Japanese homes are quite small.
Yeah.
So they're building all these online functions for people because actually, like these days, friends will hang out at each other's houses, but like in Japan, because the houses are so small, they do go to little cafes and play games and stuff like that. So I think that's like a really fun way of like cultures affecting how we play games. But I do think it's very funny, like how Apple do it as well. How Nintendo almost, if you watch that, it's almost like Nintendo have invented voice chatting games, even though voice chat's been in games since the 2000s. But
I do think Apple and people do it though. So especially when
they make it more simple, they make it easy to use.
Yeah.
Nintendo seems like it would just work.
Yeah, Nintendo's not for tech nerds. It's for people who actually are going to use it as, to be. I think the big thing with Nintendo that they have pushed for, you'd be more an expert on this than me, but certainly since the Wii, is the social element of gaming.
Yeah.
And I do think, although I'm 99% certain I've never played a game with anybody online, I've never even played Fortnite or anything like that. I do enjoy being in the same room with somebody, as long as it's not that horrible cooperative Mario game, which almost made us split up.
Oh yeah,
one of us kept dragging the other off the platforms.
Well, we've had like parties. Remember when the Wii U came out, and we had like a Nintendo LAN party and stuff like that. So that's and Snipper Clips. That was fun.
Yeah. Oh, Snipper Clips is great.
Yeah, they should bring more.
Do you remember that game? Just as a memory, Boom Blocks.
Oh, I love Boom Blocks.
What was that on?
Wii.
My God, that
was
game
made by Steven Spielberg.
I know. Can you play that anywhere?
On the Wii.
Still play it?
On the Wii U.
Oh, that game was amazing.
That game was really good.
It was incredible.
It was like Angry Birds before Angry Birds.
Yeah, but it was so good.
Just some crazy things that have come out afterwards, just to get to talk about on here, because I read stuff afterwards, so we can get reactions on here from your reactions as well. The Nintendo Switch is like the first. Switch 2 is the first big tech product that's been released in this new world order with like the Trump presidency and tariffs, and the prices are a bit crazy because of that. There's a special version coming out just in Japan that only plays games in Japanese language, and that is dirt cheap because it's made in Japan, so it can just be sold just to Japanese people, and then it doesn't have to deal with any worldwide tariffs. So the equivalent in pounds for that.
And Japan is very cheap at the moment.
So it's about 59,000 yen, which is about 300 quid.
Okay.
And the Switch is launching here at 399.
That's not that different.
But it's £100. £100.
I thought you were going to say like it was 50 quid or something.
Oh no. And in America it's $450. The thing that everyone's losing their mind about. Do you know how much the games are coming out this year?
60.
80 quid a game.
No.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, but that's what.
Who's going to pay that?
That's what. And Nintendo games never come down in price, but like that's what games cost on the Switch 2 now.
Oh my God, that's absurd. No one's going to pay that.
Well, that's the suggested retail price. But like Nintendo games never get sold on. They rarely go on sale. So if you like Mario Kart World is going to retail at $80 for.
Wow. I mean, to be honest, I do think video games are quite good value. Even, I wouldn't have said that when I was a kid, but you go to a theatre, that's about the same price as a really decent outside of London theatre ticket.
But also, the thing is that we used to pay 60 quid for video games in the 90s, and adjusted for inflation, that's probably about 120 quid. Like video games haven't
like 40, 50 quid
haven't gone.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, so we're not being like. It is expensive.
Miserly.
But yeah,
that is a lot. The thing is, they're going to be cheaper on the other consoles, though. So who's going to buy the third-party releases on the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah. So I think they'll have to deal with that. Last thing we haven't talked about in terms of general sort of stuff is Mario Kart World, open world Mario Kart.
I haven't really properly played a Mario Kart game for at least 3 games worth.
I think we played 8.
We played a little bit. Yeah. The problem, I really enjoy Mario Kart, but again, it doesn't get me in the feels.
Well, yeah, because there's no story.
Yeah. So I almost kind of want there to be a bit of a story mode.
Mode in Mario Kart.
I like narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's a world now. You're driving around the mushroom.
Yeah, it looks
maybe
really
you can help
cool.
People in the world.
And the environment, the Route 66. And maybe I'll love it because, I tell you what, I'll end up not doing any of the races and just driving around and flying over dinosaurs and things.
The one thing I have a slight fear with Nintendo games at the minute is they're all sort of morphing into Breath of the Wild in terms of because Xenoblade Chronicles looks like that. The latest Pokemon game, even though it's like 1 frame a second, is in that world. Mario Kart now is in a Breath of the Wild type open world. It's like everything is becoming like Nintendo made this great innovation in Breath of the Wild, and then they can't move past that. Oh, the one thing we didn't show in there, which just shows you like how boring it is Metroid Prime 4. It looks really pretty, but from gameplay, it looks like a game from 20 years ago. It just hasn't moved on in terms of it was in the last Nintendo Direct last week, and one of the points they made out is Samus has these psychic powers and she can use them to open doors. And people were like, sorry, is that a feature now that you open doors with your mind? It was really, really basic. It looks really rubbish. That's coming out on Switch.
You know what? I've never played a Metroid game.
You've played Metroid Prime. You've never played Metroid Prime 1 or 2 or 3?
I've seen my friend John play Metroid games. He loves those
Metroid
games.
Prime's really good though. They've got a remake on Switch. It's really good.
I'm not getting invited back on this, am I?
No, pretty much. Any last thoughts about Switch 2?
No, it just means that I'll
have a quiet.
I'll have a very quiet June.
Yeah.
I'll plan in some nice things for me to do while you play Switch.
Well, we're doing lots of James Bond things in May, aren't we? So.
No, the hardship of having to go all the way to Paris and interact with people.
Yeah, I'll be just thinking about Switch comes out next week. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. This is a little mini-sode, but thank you for following us and watching this. Remember, on the screen there is the where we are on social. Pixel Perfect Pride on Blue Sky and also on Instagram. We're not on the other place because it's full of.
Why is it called Pixel Perfect Pride?
Because Pixel Perfect is like a gaming term, isn't it? And Pride because it's for LGBTQ plus people.
Wait, are you gay?
Yes.
Oh my God, so am I.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys. Thanks for the support so far. Thank you for following along, and follow us, tell your friends, do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, bang that bell so you get notified when new episodes are out, and like more than and all that, tell people about us so people can follow. So thank you very much.
Bye.
Nintendo, we all love you. Bye.